Today, we're talking with transformational life coach, Alicia Ayala. Welcome to Set to Love.
You can live a life in flow where your deepest heart's desires become reality.
You are here to contribute through your essence, fall deeper in love with your life and the journey that you are on.
Take what works, ditch the rest, and always stay set to love.
Thank you for being a part of this community. We're all designed to live in flow. So let's go.
Alicia specializes in empowering women over 35 to become unstoppable in their career and life by healing their story. She uses a variety of tools to go deep into discovering themselves, helping women get unstuck from their story and fall in love with themselves. So today on Set to Love, I'd like to welcome my friend, Alicia Ayala. Hello.
Hello. So happy to be back. I love hanging out with you.
Thank you so much for coming back and for filling in as my co-host today while Shelly's in Hawaii, living it up. I thought, who do I want to co-host today? And you are one of my favorite guests, and I just adore you and your message and what you're doing out there in the world. So thank you so much for coming on today.
Yeah, of course. And I'm so appreciative of being able to come on and hang out with you. So anytime.
Okay. I love it. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So for people who don't know, I know my sister's watching. She's super excited about you being on today. She loves you as well. But for people who don't know you, do you want to just give us a little bit of background about who you are and how you got to become this life coach? And then we'll kind of go from there.
Yeah. So hello, my name's Alicia Ayala, as Eva just introduced. So I have been in the corporate arena for the last 22 years. And then, just through a variety of, growth and transformations myself, I realized last August that it was more like last June. Last June, I started to go through this, oh my goodness, as I was getting to this point of getting a promotion. And I was moving to VP, and this was like what I had been working towards my whole life. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh my goodness, like this is not what I want. And when I started to think about where do I want to focus? What do I want to do? Everything that I was doing, even in my corporate role, was all about mentoring women. And I had found myself just working more and more hours. And I was like, what am I doing? And where do I love spending my time? And it was really in that mentoring women, helping women, and watching women go through this beautiful transformation of realizing, oh, I can do so much more. And I am holding myself back. And so that's when I was just like, I need to leave. I need to quit this job. And I need to go into this full time. And so last August, I took a leap into entrepreneurship, and I have been doing it full time since. And I shouldn't say full time, I've been full time, but I spent about 4 months writing 7 chapters in my memoir. I've had I talk a lot about, growing up in a chaotic and violent household. And so I decided part of what I want to do as well is just write this memoir about my life. And I want to help women and people heal from these stories that hold us back. And I want to prove to the world that you don't need to come from, a great family, a great and have like all of these perfect things that have happened. Mm-hmm. You can grow through the trauma and things that have happened to you and still be successful.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Okay. I have I'm writing questions as you're talking. Okay. So my first question, thank you for introducing yourself and for sharing that. All right. So my first question for you is, when you're, doing that 9-to-5 job, you're in this corporate world, you're making good money, you have a good position. What was it, and how do other people recognize that, okay, wait, this is not where what am I doing? What am I doing with my life? Is this really where I want to be? And then what steps, like, how do you leave that, the comfort of that to move to something else?
Yeah. So I think it's a feeling of even talking to some of my clients, it's this feeling of being out of alignment. you feel like it's just, I kept feeling this sort of tug, and it was like I was floating. It's the best way I can describe it. I was floating, like I wasn't really present. And even when I tried to be present, because I had been doing so much research around being present and meditation and all these things, I had all these
How do I love
tools.
my job more? Maybe it's the job and not me.
Yes, I'm just like, I kept doing everything. And then I just kept feeling like I was living someone else's life. There was just this sort of like, I wasn't where I was supposed to be. And I also went back and I was like looking, I've always journaled. So my whole life I've journaled. And I went back to a journal from, it was before my daughter was born. So it was 2011. It was the year before she was born. And I had written, I was also struggling at that time with loving my career and loving where I was at. And I was like, wow, back in even 2011, I was feeling this way. What did I write? And I had written, I want to help empower women. And I was like, oh my goodness, here this whole time. So I was like, is this what I'm meant to go do? I don't know. I just have to go figure it out. So I think there's this feeling of not being in alignment with who you are, what you want. And as much as you try to be happy or be present or whatever the case may be, you just you feel very out of alignment. And like I had mentioned, I talked to some of my clients and I hear this, I don't feel in alignment, but I don't even know what alignment feels like, but I just don't feel right. And so I think that would be,
So then what?
yeah. So I think the steps would be, like, what are some strategies? I think it's exploring who you are. Honestly, I feel like the biggest, the best thing that any of us can do for ourselves is to get to know who we are. Oftentimes we are so outwardly focused on what are other people doing, what are the milestones that I'm supposed to do in this world, in this life, instead of focusing on and really tuning into, what do I want to do? What do you want your life to be? What do you want your life to mean? I think the best question I love having my clients answer is, when you are 80 and you look back on your life, what do you want that life to mean? What would that look like?
What if you don't know? Or what if you have too many ideas? Where do you even start?
Yeah, honestly, I think part of it is like, I recommend people journal and like handwritten journaling, because there is this mind physical connection between your hand and your mind in journaling. I think the other thing is, I think finding coaches. The idea of a coach, and I didn't know about coaches, and I wish I would have known about a coach like 10 years earlier, because I hired coaches, I found mentors. I think the idea of a coach is a bridge, right? If you want, you can do this all on your own. And I truly believe that, but it may take you 10, 20 years, right? If you want to do something now, hiring a coach is a great way to get somebody who can walk you through a process from start to finish in understanding who you are. But if you don't want to invest that time, and if you don't want to invest that money, you can journal. You can read personal development books. You can find podcasts like this one that fill your soul and your body, because those things help to ignite different things in you that, you start to kind of feel like, oh, wow, wait a second, there's something here. I think movement, I'm really big on movement, exercise. I call it movement. I've actually tried to move away from this idea of working out, because it's such a negative, like many people have a negative connotation with it. So I call it movement. Whatever movement looks like to you, get out, move your body. All of those things help with you trying to figure out who you are.
I love that. That's really great. Oh, here, my sister, she's watching, of course. She says, create.
Yes.
That's what she's been doing. She's been stepping into her artist self, and just creating. And that's actually really helped her to heal her story. And that's what I wanted to transition to next, is talking about this idea of healing our story. I know for her, painting and drawing and kind of getting into that artistic side has really helped her. I mean, along with therapy and, having me as her sister, wink, wink. But I'm just curious, how do you help women handle their stories, those past stories that we hang on to so tightly?
Yeah. And that is it. We hang onto them tightly. I believe in, through a lot of the work that I've done, my own personal work and then the work with other women, I think we hang on to them so tightly because we live in a society that kind of says, don't feel. Everything that we do is about taking these feelings and just hiding them, shoving them down, right? We talk a lot, everything is about taking a pill, drinking something. Everything is about this sort of fast, it is, a fast and,
Quick solutions, like,
thank you. Yes, quick solution, right? We live in this society of like immediate gratification. The thing
yes.
about healing your story is it takes time and it's work. And it is not a quick solution, but you have to feel and process your feelings. You have to feel and process. Raw Goddess and Gabby Bernstein teach this method, and it's part of what I teach as well, which is feeling a feeling for 90 seconds can actually help you process a story that you've held on to. Much of these stories, my own included, and my story, like I grew up, as I mentioned, in a very abusive environment and household. I thought that there was something wrong with me. I thought I was broken. And so what I did was I found every way I could to hide from that story, to hide from that because I thought it was me. And so I drank, I ate, I worked, I did everything that you can imagine as a coping mechanism. And I was just surviving. I never actually felt the feelings. And so every time those feelings would come up, I would find a way to shove them down. And so what I started to do back in 2016 was I started journaling. I started feeling those feelings. I started writing in a much deeper way than I had ever done before, where I would go in and I would feel it. And I started to process. And so I think that is one of the big things is I think that you have to feel the feelings. And I think most of us just don't.
I totally agree with that. I know for me, going through a divorce and then having all these kinds of feelings, like way more feelings than I've ever felt about anything for a really long time. And writing for me, like really just thinking no one was going to ever read it, but just
Right.
pouring myself, like how I feel with tears flowing down my face as I would just write out this story, and Kristen says, ugh, spot on. Yes, feeling the
Yes.
feelings. And yeah, just letting myself be there. And when that feeling came up and I would start crying,
Yes.
not pushing it aside, not saying like, oh wait, don't feel sad right now, or don't feel this shame right now, or don't feel this right now. Just be with it. Just let it, just keep typing. Just keep typing. And then I'd get to the end of that chapter and go, oh, and I felt a little bit lighter. And it's also how I feel when I share with someone. I see that in our camps too, when our kids share their story and other people are there to receive it and love you anyway, despite whatever story you have. That's also really freeing. I found those two things for me to be really helpful, or things I've witnessed.
Yeah, just I want to comment on
Yeah.
what you just said about witnessing.
Yeah.
So I think part of us being alive and our lives is to be witnessed. And when we hold these stories inside, and as the word, to use your words, so tightly, we are not allowing ourselves to be witnessed in our truth of who we actually are. And we are not only hiding that truth within us, but we're hiding it from the rest of the world. And what the rest of the world needs to see are real people, real struggles, because that is what this life is. And we were all meant to have these struggles, but you were never meant to stay stuck in it. You were meant to grow through it. You were meant to get stronger through it. And you were meant to then move on, to share it, to help other people. And I truly believe that is part of why we are here.
Yes. So do you find that it's hard to, or harder, let's say, to transition to something new? So you're in a job, you're doing something you don't like, when you're holding on to all these stories. So when you're stuck in your story, you're, whether you know it or not, I think sometimes we don't even know we're really stuck in a story. But it's hard to have clarity and vision on what it is that you want to create when you're so worried about the other stuff.
Yeah. I think when you transition, it all comes up. Which is why I think a lot of times we want to stay in our safety. Because the moment you try to step out and do something different, every single story that you've ever told yourself is going to come up.
Yes.
And I wonder, like, you know, even like with whether you're going to write a book or you're going to do a podcast, I'm sure, Eva, you've experienced those things as well as you get ready, right, to do those things. But I think the key is, again, not to move away from it. You have to move through the fire to grow stronger, you know? And so I think you have to go through it. You have to, and that is the hard part. I think the worst thing that our society tells us, again, not directly, but like everything can have a fast fix. You get immediate gratification and, you know, oh, if it's painful, then just don't do it. No, like we have to do these things. You are meant to do hard things, and every single one of us can. We just, we get nervous. And the moment that we feel that resistance, we stay in our safety. And I think the more that when you feel that resistance, don't walk away from it. Like go towards it. But that's the hard part. That is the hard part.
So how do you cultivate that courage? How do you find that courage to move forward when you start to recognize it, you see it, you know, okay, I've got stuff. I can see my own resistance and I'm just going to do it anyway. But you're so afraid to step forward. How do you help women through that? Like cultivating that courage inside of them to step towards that thing that they really want?
Yeah. I think all of us, like we fear comes in and takes that courage away. And I think fear is this sort of, it's, you know, I think I saw an acronym that's called false evidence appearing real. And fear comes in and fear just wants to take you out. But fear is also, I really encourage my clients to look at fear as a friend. Fear is there because fear thinks it's protecting you. And so I think part of it is to assess, okay, this thing, whatever I fear, is it actually like, what's the worst that's going to happen? What is going to happen if I take this step? Like, am I actually going to, you know, something bad going to happen? Oftentimes, no, nothing bad is going to happen. And you can probably come up with ways, strategies to get through it. But I think it really is that fear. So I think it's cultivating a relationship with fear and knowing that fear never goes away. I used to think that when I get to insert, you know, director level, VP level, whatever, like when I was in corporate, I will no longer be afraid, right? I will be past this. When I do a podcast, I will be past my fear, right, of speaking. Or when I do whatever it is, it's like, but that fear never goes away. So the other thing I encourage, and I heard this from another person, and I wish I remember her name, but so it's not mine, but it was naming your fear. So like giving her a name so that when she comes, and she's kind of like this friend who cries wolf, right? Oh my gosh, watch out, you're going to get hurt, right? And like, if you can cultivate a relationship with this friend, then it's not as scary, right? You're just like, oh, hey, I know you.
Yeah, I've seen you before many times in my life.
Yes, and then it's not as scary. I think the scary part is that fear comes and we don't even look at it. We just immediately turn the other way and we're just like, no, it's too hard. I'm not going to do it. And so I just encourage, to create courage, you have to do hard things. If you stay safe, if you never look at fear, if you never try, you will never build that muscle. And so I think it's a muscle. You have to build this muscle of courage. And part of it is learning to make friends with fear. It's taking action. Action is one of the best ways to combat fear.
I love that. Okay, so let's talk about action. So let's say someone's out there and they're thinking, okay, I'm going to enter a life transition. Like I foresee it coming. I'm going to be quitting my job. I'm going to be getting a divorce. I'm going to start a new career, hobby, whatever it might be, right? They're coming up on it, or they're already in it, like whatever's already crashing in around them. They're already there.
Mhm.
And they say, okay, I need a life coach. What does that even look like? Like for someone who's just heard life coach before or they sort of think like therapist, but like, how is it different? What do people do with you? What does a session look like? How
Mhm.
long are they? How often are they?
Yeah.
What does being life coached even look like for you, with
Yeah,
you?
so yeah, I think so there's lots of different life coaches out there. So there's a variety of people, and it really depends on what it is you're looking for. I think finding a life coach is like finding a therapist, finding a doctor. It's finding somebody who you resonate with. So what does a life coach look like? Again, everybody's going to be different. For me, I offer a couple of different types of services. So it's, more of a tactical. If somebody's not wanting to, like, maybe it's very tactical and they are just looking, like I've several clients from the corporate space who've come to me on, like, I'm having a specific issue in my job with this. I want to solve it. That might just be, let's do, 3 sessions. And we combat and focus on this one thing. I created a 14-week transformative high touch experience that is all about going really deep and really healing. It's an immersive experience where you're healing and you're touching past, present, and future and habits. So we're looking at these 4 key pillars of your life and taking a look at your story and really building this foundation of creating confidence that you're powerful, and have evidence of who you are as a person and all of the gifts that you bring and are meant to share with the world. And so for me, with this 14-week program, it looks like we're meeting every other week. They're 60-minute sessions, but then I'm there as a cheerleader, as a coach in between, if you need anything in between for those 14 weeks. So it's a really high touch experience. Again, everybody is different, but it's about finding somebody that you resonate with. And it's also about doing the work. There are lots of people I talk to who after we get on the phone, it's like, they're just not ready. And I really want to work with people who are like, I am ready to make this shift and I'm ready to do the work. There are a lot of people that are sort of like almost ready, but just not quite there. And I really want to work with the people that are like, I am ready to take action. I am ready to move the needle. I know I have work to do and I'm ready to do it.
I love that. That sounds very exciting. So with those people, is that how you decided? I mean, I know you work 35 and older. That's kind of like your key demographic.
Yeah.
Is there a reason why you chose that, like specifically that range? Or like how did that come up for you?
Yeah. I think what happened in my life was that I kind of hit these milestones of like, okay, go to school, go to college, get a dog, meet a boyfriend, meet a man, you know what I mean? Get in your career. And then you kind of get done with these milestones that have been set for us in our
Have
society.
a couple kids, like
Have the kids.
You're in your career, you're doing your thing, showing up every day.
Now you're supposed to be happy. You have all the things. And I feel like it comes up it depends. Everybody's different. For me, it happened around that 35.
Yes.
Where I was like, oh my, wait a second. Like, you told me, society, I was supposed to be happy. I have all of the things. I did all of the things, but I'm not. And so I think that's where it came up for me, that it was like, I want to work with those women that kind of hit that point. Now, it could happen earlier. It could happen later, depending on, everybody's having children at a different age. I do feel like it's right after you have your kids and then you sort of lose yourself. And so it's that is like where I want to focus, because I also feel like that is when there is some correlation to the things that have happened in our past that we have pushed down when you start to have kids, and when you hit this, early 30s, mid 30s, those things start to pop up.
Yes.
And you start to experience like almost where this trauma effect, right? This PTSD.
It's so wild. You know what it is? I think it's perspective. I mean, having 6 kids and they're 21 to almost 10, right? When they're at certain ages and I see them and I look at them like, oh, you're just a kid, you're 16. But then I remember being 16 and I think, oh my gosh. Or I look and I see my, when my kids were little and I was like, that's 5, like that's 5 years old. And I remember being 5 and having something happen and like feeling a certain way about it. And so as I look at my kids at different ages, like my kids are in the 4th grade, the twins just finished 4th grade. I have so many vivid memories from 4th grade. And I felt like at that time that I was so responsible for everything that was happening, like I should have known, or I was mature enough, but I'm looking at my twins going, you don't know very much. You're tiny little humans. And so it actually gives me more grace. I just think like, wow, I really didn't know. And I'm you're right. It does bring up that stuff. It's so interesting. What a great like perspective for you to bring that up. So thank you for offering that. And so then what? Like, here you are, you're having these moments, you're having these feelings. And is that when you're like, call the therapist, call the life coach, like, got to work through this stuff. Otherwise it just keeps coming up, right?
It will keep coming up. And that's the thing, it's like you can wait you can try to do it yourself, which again, I think that there's a certain amount that you can do yourself. But I also think that you will keep getting this lesson and this stuff will keep coming up until you process it, until you go through and you heal it. And, for me, the biggest transformation was when I finally healed all of these things that I'd been carrying with me. And this is one of the reasons why this work is so important to me. I want to give this to other women. This a feeling of being empowered, and I feel so unstoppable. Like I want that for every other woman. And I know that you can have that.
Yes. And just think about that. Like, I love that, because if people stepped more into their essence and more into the things that they really want and are able to let that past go, think about like the systems that we could fix in this world and how many new things would be created and invented. And I mean, I think women are so imaginative and resilient and powerful. And it's like, we just don't even realize like the superpowers that we really have, and holding on to that trauma. It just like, it's like a cloud covering all of those superpowers. And so being able to work through that with someone like you would be such a gift for anyone. So thank you so much for stepping into this and, for being here today and for sharing all of this. We're coming up on 30 minutes and I know you offered me some more time today. Usually our podcast is like 15. So I so appreciate your time. I just want to ask you a final question. What else do you like want to share with the audience? What is the one message, if you could, if we could turn this on and everyone over the whole world could like hear you for this next couple minutes, what would you want to share with them?
So a lot of it is what we've already talked about, but I believe your story is your power. Your story has the ability to heal you, and it has the ability to heal the world. Your story and everything about your story is not just your past. And I think a lot of times we believe our story is only our past, but our story is our past, our present, right where you are today, and your future. And it's all the habits that support those three elements. And it's, or the habits that you have in place that are not supporting what you want and where you want to go. I think the other thing is that you are 100% capable. You are 100% capable of doing anything that you choose to do. And most of the time, the women that I talk to are just choosing not to take the step that they need to live the life that they want. And so if you're out there right now hearing this and this is resonating with you, do something. Take one action today to do something towards what you want, because you are 100% capable. And I know it's easy to believe, it's easier to believe you're not, because it is hard work. But I promise you, you are so powerful. And exactly what Eva said, I believe too, which is we all have these amazing gifts that are you are meant to uncover these gifts and share them with the world.
Yes,
and
yes.
You are doing the world a disservice by staying stuck, because then we cannot experience what you were meant to bring into this world. And so that is my message. Just we are all meant to do something. And I mean, I love working with women and just this feeling, and I see it happen in the first 2 or 3 sessions, the first 3 weeks. It's like this transformation of like, oh my gosh, I am so powerful. And I'm just like, yes, because every single one of you are.
I love it. Alicia Ayala, I love you. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for stepping into your gifts and for sharing them with the world and with us today. I enjoy having you on this show so much. You're such a beautiful human. And I'm just so grateful that our lives have crossed paths and that we know each other and that we can be a resource for one another. And thank you so much for being here and for helping our audience today by sharing so much beautiful wisdom. How can people find you, get in touch with you, sign up and be a part of this, do a discovery call or whatever it might be to see if this 14-week program might be a fit for them? Where can people find you?
Yes. So thank you, Eva, for having me. I feel the same exact way, and I'm so grateful that we found each other. Like, it's just, I love these online relationships. It's so beautiful. So I am on LinkedIn. I am on, and my handle is It's Alicia Ayala, both on LinkedIn, on Instagram, as well as Facebook. So you can find me there. My website is aliciaayala.com. And so you can find me there as well. And then if you reach out to me on any of those mechanisms, you can message me to set up a discovery call. It's free to connect and, determine whether it's a good fit or not. And I love working with a variety of women. So I look forward to hearing from people. And yes, that's where you can find me. I also have a free group for inspiration. There's some challenges that will be coming up here as well on self-discovery. So if you're not ready to invest, there's a free group as well where you can come, and there is some of this work that we do there as well.
And where's that group? Is that on Facebook?
It's on Facebook. Yep, it's on Facebook, and it's called the Women Inspiring Together Collective.
Okay, I love it. Well, thank you again so much for being here and for being a part of this show. Thank you everyone out there for watching. I love you, Alicia, and I so appreciate you. And I can't wait to have you back again in the future.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Have a great day, everyone.